Bitcoin hits a new all-time high of $77,000 as altcoins are waking up. Many are starting to break out. This is very bullish as liquidity is coming into the market. And the American Securities Association is calling for Gary Gensler to resign immediately as a new candidate who would replace Gary Gensler is being thrown into the mix. I'll give you the details. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, today Bitcoin touched $77,000, continuing its move upwards. But as always, guys, nothing goes up in a straight line. So we could see Bitcoin cool down a bit before moving up, and where I think it may go to 82,000 or higher. So just be prepared for that. It's going to be a roller coaster ride on the way up. So let's see what Bitcoin does over the next week. But obviously things are looking bullish. One of the major callouts is we're starting to see certain altcoins break out. Here we're seeing Cardano is on the way up. It's actually up near 26-27% over the past 7 days. So we've been waiting to see blue chip altcoins like XRP, Cardano, and so forth start to move. And this is a very good sign. Ethereum touched $3,000 today, so it's on the move as well. Things are looking pretty good, guys. So, but remember, it won't go up in a straight line. It's going to stair step its way up. But we are definitely in a bull market, and liquidity is starting to come in. Now, on the Bitcoin front, we're seeing whales are accumulating. Here, data from Sentiment, partner of the channel, is showing that wallets with 10 Bitcoin or higher are starting to increase. So whales are buying. And speaking of whales, BlackRock had its largest inflow day, which is wild. Many people are reporting on this. It continues to break single day records. And the total inflows, of course, is over $20 billion. And in fact, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF has surpassed its gold ETF in net assets. Think about that. The gold ETF was launched 20 years ago, and it has net assets of around $32.9 billion. Well, the iShares Bitcoin Trust has net assets of around $33.17 billion as of Thursday's market close. This is incredible. And this is why people have been saying a lot of capital is going to leave gold and go into Bitcoin because it's more scarcer, it's real time, it has greater attributes. I'm not saying it's wrong or bad to hold gold. Obviously, gold is performing really well in this bull market cycle. But Bitcoin, as Paul Tudor Jones said, is the fastest horse in the race. So it is moving much faster than gold and other assets like real estate and the stock market. So pretty incredible stuff. And I think a lot of liquidity will leave gold and go into Bitcoin and crypto assets. One thing to highlight is that exchange supply of Bitcoin is hitting a new all-time low. So that means less selling pressure. This is very good for the bull market. When you start to see the inverse of this, that the supply in exchanges is increasing, that's when you have to be prepared. That's when usually whales are moving their supply back on the exchanges to sell. So if you're subscribed to this podcast, I will be sharing this data with you. I will be including it in the newsletter and much more. So you want to look at the data and the metrics. We don't want to guess here. We don't want to move by our emotions, but what is the data and the metrics and all these things telling us? So very good sign, folks. And like I said, some altcoins are starting to wake up, so things are moving in the right direction. For Bitcoin, as we head to Sunday, Rec Capital said Bitcoin is getting closer to confirming a historic weekly close and breakout from the reaccumulation range. Weekly close above 71,500 would kickstart the breakout process, and any dips into the red would serve as a retest if at all necessary. So you could see some retests, right? So as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a roller coaster ride up. So just be prepared for these pullbacks, guys. And one thing that we are seeing is that stablecoin supply continues to increase. Just today, Tether minted 1 billion USDT. And just a couple days ago, they had minted 2 billion in USDT. Where do you think that liquidity is going to go? It's going to go into the crypto market, into Bitcoin and altcoins. So you're seeing multiple factors, data now, right? Not our emotions, not our dreams, not conspiracy theories, but what is the data telling us? What is happening, fundamentals and the macro setup as well. Now, former Binance CEO CZ weighed in on Bitcoin's move to 77K, saying we're just getting started. But he also highlighted a great point, which I wanted to share with you guys. He says, as Bitcoin makes successive new all-time highs, apply proper risk management. There will be many dips and highs in the future. Make sure you can handle them. Control your greed. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Ape slowly. So, some very good advice there. I've been beating the drum nonstop. To some of you guys maybe get annoyed by this, but have a plan. Have it written down. What are your assets? What was your entry price? What price points you're taking profits at, and know your tax implications and all these things. Map it out in a spreadsheet. It's easy, right? Or write it down, whatever you want to do. Just know where you're taking profits at, because it will help you to stick to your plan, because things are going to get greedy, they're going to get euphoric. And I made the mistake in past bull market cycles of thinking it's going to keep going higher and higher and higher, and I missed out on massive gains and profits. If you walk away from this bull market with money, you made a profit, a great return, then you had success. It may not be the number you are dreaming of, or you thought you were going to be a multimillionaire or something like that, but that's okay. If you're walking away with money, that's good. It's better than losing money, right? Now, obviously, no one can call the top, so you have to dollar cost average out like you could dollar cost average in. So I personally will be taking profits at different price points, and I'll be watching the metrics, the data closely to see where we're at to get an approximation and update my plan accordingly. But I at least want to have a starting point of having some sort of plan put together, guys. Now, a quick word from our sponsor, and that is BitGo, which is one of the top tier crypto custodians in the crypto industry. BitGo is headed up by Mike Belshi, who's a Web 1.0, 2.0 legend. BitGo works with many big brands and companies in the crypto industry, such as Bitstamp Exchange, Sui, Pantera Capital, that's Dan Moorhead, 21 Shares. They, of course, issue Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So BitGo's custodying some of the assets for those ETFs. Nike uses BitGo for their NFTs. And they have a great self-hosted wallet for retail, guys. So if you want to check out BitGo's self-hosted wallet, it's great. And they have top-tier security, insurance, and a lot of customer support and much more. And they've been through multiple bull and bear market cycles. Many institutions trust this platform. So if you'd like to learn more about BitGo, go to bitgo.com. Link will be in the description. Now, guys, we know Donald Trump and Senator Cynthia Lummis put together a plan, and they have spoken about it over the past year about a Bitcoin strategic reserve for the United States. Well, this narrative and this idea is growing globally. Dennis Porter, who I'll be interviewing on Monday, he is head of the Satoshi Act Fund. He's been doing some amazing work in getting crypto legislation through in different states. He said, breaking, I can confirm that additional state lawmakers have reached out to me today to request assistance passing a strategic Bitcoin reserve after winning their elections. This is big, guys. And once again, Dennis is legit. He's been working with a ton of state lawmakers. So I'm going to ask him about this on Monday in my interview with him. And check this out. German parliament member Joanna Kotar says, if the US buys Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, then I think all European countries will get FOMO. Guys, the paradigm shift continues and game theory is going to play out here. Now, let's talk about Gary Gensler, because we know he is on his way out, and we'll see if he sends in his resignation letter this month or in December. But the CEO of the American Securities Association, which represents regional brokers and financial services firms, has called on the SEC chairman Gary Gensler to resign. Here's a quote: "The people have voted for this country to take a new direction, and Chairman Gensler should respect that vote by stepping down from his position immediately. This is the only way for America's working families, retirement savers, and small businesses to rebuild their trust and confidence in the institution of the SEC." Wow. Some scathing remarks there. The CEO's name is Chris Lacovella. So very interesting. Now, there's also a new name being circulated here that could replace Gary Gensler, and that is Wall Street lawyer Richard Farley. Now, I don't know much about Richard Farley, but I would want somebody who knows about the crypto market, like a Chris Giancarlo, Dan Gallagher, right? Those names made sense. Obviously, Hester Peirce and Mark Ueda, who understand what's happening here. I don't know much about this guy, and In fact, Eleanor Terra to Fox Business says it is unclear what his views on crypto are. Now, I don't think Trump would appoint someone who's anti-crypto, but I would rather a name who's well known in the industry and has been around the block, like Chris Giancarlo, would be perfect. He headed up the CFTC. He got the CFTC to get crypto futures and all these things in place. So Eleanor did some digging and she said, I asked a person close to the Trump transition team about some of the names being floated for SEC chair and whether views on crypto would factor into the decision. The response was, I promise you it will be someone pro crypto. So that's a good sign. We want someone who's knowledgeable and knows what's happening. Now, some other interesting news coming out of the SEC under Gary Gensler right now is that they have delayed their decision on the spot Ethereum ETF options. We know they approved the Bitcoin options, and those are going through another round of approval with the CFTC and so forth, but I don't know why they delayed the decision here. So it said the report says the agency was scheduled to make a decision by Monday, November 11th. This could be some more scumbag activity from a scumbag regulator that is Gary Gensler. Now, we got some big Flare network news, guys. Many of you know I hold the FLR token. I continue to delegate and earn. Well, here's the headline. Flare Network's Red Date technology will run trials that would enable mainland Chinese nationals to buy stablecoins in Hong Kong. If you caught my newsletter from about a month ago, I said I'm predicting within 6 months that China is going to open up the Hong Kong ETFs to the mainland China nationals. I think it's coming. Hong Kong is under the control of China. China knows what's happening. They're watching everything, guys. And as I've been saying, game theory will play out here. So China definitely wants to get involved. And I think, as I said in my newsletter, the ETF makes it easy for them to do that because if they're worried about their currency leaving the country and all of those things, the ETF would be a perfect avenue because it's sitting, the ETFs is within the wrapper that is controlled and viewed by the government, right? Same thing here in the United States, right? Everything is reported to the SEC. So fascinating stuff. And this is a big adoption for Flare networks, guys. I mean, to get the Chinese government to do things around blockchain and crypto, it takes some work. So the initiative uses the China Real Name Decentralized Identifier System, Real DID, to enable legal transactions with stablecoins like HKDA aligning with Hong Kong's new stablecoin regulations. Major stablecoins such as Tether USDT and Circle's USDC, US dollar stablecoins do not appear to be included in these trials. So guys, big news for Flare here, and also big news from a macro perspective with the adoption of crypto. And China's going to do their own thing, and they'll probably do it in a different way, but everyone is headed in the same direction. And that is adoption of this technology. And that's why you got to count yourself lucky that you are here early and you have taken your positions on the low. Hopefully you bought the bear market bottom, and we're waiting for that euphoria blow off top. Now, speaking of stablecoins and Tether, Tether enters the oil market by funding a $45 million trade. So this is interesting. The firm disclosed it entered the oil market in October when it placed a trade to load in and transport 670,000 barrels of Middle Eastern crude oil valued at approximately $45 million. This transaction marks Tether's investment's first crude oil transaction in the region and highlights the company's expanding role in global commodities trading, the company wrote in a press release on Friday. So they're expanding to other things. Tether Investments is a new division of the firm aimed at supporting the $10 trillion trade finance industry. The unit is reportedly siloed away from the reserve assets that back the US dollar denominated USDT stablecoin. Now, Tether clearly has always been a leader and innovator. Let's see what they do here. It wouldn't surprise me if they find a way to get their stablecoin used here in some way, even though they're not using oil or these things to back their reserves. But they, like I said, they've been great innovators, and that's why they are the top stablecoin in the entire world. Now, obviously, they're facing some regulatory challenges, especially in the EU with the MiCA regulations, possibly here in the US once stablecoin regulations get pushed through, but they are pretty dominant and they are set up globally. So let's see how this all plays out. I do believe that players like USDC, PayPal's PYUSD, you also have Ripple's RLUSD, which is around the corner, will take market share from Tether, but it's going to be hard to take down Tether. They are working with Wall Street firm Cantor Fitzgerald and much more. So things are getting very interesting here in the stablecoin market, guys. All right, folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. A great way to support me in the podcast is by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It's 100% free. Also, grab a copy of my book, Rethinking Crypto. It's available on Amazon in paperback and digital. It will make a great gift for family and friends. You can buy a few copies, give it as gifts this holiday, help people to understand the crypto asset class, how to invest in it, and much more. It's important. Knowledge is power, right? Don't let them get wrecked. Let them understand where we're at in the cycle and how this all works. And if you bought a copy already, please leave a rating and review on Amazon. It will really help me out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you all later.